Now we're going to go to Facebook, and it has its own billboard, and works a little bit differently. Day, night, Islam show, and get the mouse in hand. Bam. Delete. Host Richard Slezak. Boom. And go right to start broadcast. We got 6:56 p.m. here at thevoiceofstockton.org and kxvs.org. We're coming to you from the John Moriarty Studio, 231 West Bedford Road. That's right next to 2001 Pacific Avenue, Stockton, California. And just continuing here, our weather this evening, we have haze over the valley from fires over in Mariposa County, Lake County, Shasta counties. It's not a good situation. So covering the valley, it's an air quality alert. Now, in Southern California and Southern Nevada, we have a excessive heat warning and red flag warning. So it's a bad situation. Very hot summer. Okay, let us go to our local forecast, 6:57 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. And, oh yeah, we can just go and click it right in. Boom. And hazardous weather condition, haze throughout the week. With low, it's currently fair conditions, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity 23%, wind is 13 miles per hour. This is at Stockton Airport, out of the northwest. Barometer is at 29.86 inches of mercury. Dew point is at 48 degrees. Visibility at 10 miles. Heat index makes it feel like it's 87, and that was as of 6:35 p.m. As I stated, haze throughout the week. Tonight, low of 63, high tomorrow of 96, Monday night low of 64, Tuesday high of 98. 60, it looks like 65 for a low on Tuesday night. Wednesday, a high of 98. Wednesday night, low of 65. 101 for the high temperature on Thursday with a low of 66. Looks to be on Thursday night. So try to survive it, please. Drink lots of fluids if you're feeling crampy. Salt, potassium, bananas are real good. Mangoes are real good. Don't want to get crampy. Not in this weather. It could hurt awful bad. It is 7 p.m. You are webtuned to The Voice of Stockton, coming to you over Facebook and YouTube as well. I am Richard Slezak, and here at The Voice of Stockton, we're going to be having a Bedford block party coming up. And last Saturday on the last Saturdays. And okay, 8:25. Yeah, that's going to be our next one, August 25th. And live DJ with local music. It's going to be right here at Bedford and Pacific. Local music, artists and performances, art exhibition, silent auction with live artists, raffles and prizes, delicious food, lemonade, shaved ice, beverages, beer and wine. It's presented by us in the Art Lab. And again, that's right, Bedford and Pacific. That is the function. It starts August 25th, a positive monthly event for youth and families and organizations that serve them. Calling on all area youth and family organizations, group churches, and schools to participate. Give us a call at 467-4455, and also events at the voiceofstockton.org. And then there's, okay, continuing, coming up on September 6th is the September 9th, Sunday, September 9th, basically a month from now, 4th Annual Chicano Community Program Radio Reunion and Car Show, presented by KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And there's going to be great bands, Mexican cuisine, a car show, and culture and fun. It's going to be at Oak Grove Regional Park up there at 8 Mile Road and I-5. There's going to be DJ Sandoval, Ramirez Brothers Blues Band, A Touch of Music, a Mariachi Torero, Frank Zapata, Ballet Folklorico, Paul Aponte. And so bring it. Come and have a good time. There's going to be a salsa and guacamole contest and one heck of a car show. So come on down. Full Moon Riders in downtown Stockton. They meet, ride, and eat. They're through RTD and ACE. So get with them for a good time. A hair-raising affair coming up Thursday, September 6th, 2018. Party on the Patio starts it off at 5 p.m. Then it's the live musical Hair at the Stockton Civic Theater. That's over at 2312 West Rosemary Lane here in Stockton. Especially people who care about strangers, who care about evil and social injustice. That's from Easy to Be Hard by Galt McDermott. And that was a great song back, it was part of the musical Hair and was played quite a bit on stations nationwide back in the day. Yeah, so come to that. Also, August 31st, September 1st, and 2nd is the 37th Annual Stockton Powwow at the University of the Pacific. Come and learn about the first people who lived here and their descendants among us at the Stockton Powwow at UOP on the 31st, 1st, and 2nd of August, coming up in about 4 weeks. We love local businesses, and we would love to have every local business be one of our sponsors. And here's 7 who are. That is Hotel... well, wait a minute. You know what? I think I can face this way. Instead of having my back to the camera, at least I can have my face to one of them. And that is Hotel Furniture Liquidators, Nick Ilyich is a sales manager there at 1648 North Shaw Road. Nearest cross street is East Fremont. That's over east of 99 here in Stockton. Get yourself some good furniture for your household, for your family. Books, yeah, you can take some there and trade for some. You can buy some, and you can read them yourself, pass them along to friends and family. At the Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue, and Doors Book Recyclery, 2310 Pacific Avenue here in Stockton. Plastics in your life? Hey, get it fulfilled at Custom Plastics and Signs, 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard here in Stockton. They'll do plastic fabrication for you, build displays and such like. They got the material, that is, sheets, rods, and tubes. They'll print up beautiful signage for you. Stencils, oh yeah, for you to do your own thing. Vehicle and boat graphics to, oh man, pretty up that vehicular years. Print T-shirts and business cards. That's Custom Plastics and Signs, 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard here in Stockton. Millennium Computer Repair. Give Sarfraz Khan a call, 209-922-1879 for repairing hardware and software, programming up, password removal, cleaning up old computers so they can be passed along. Done by Millennium Computer Repair, 209-922-1879. Habitat for Humanity Restore, where you can buy anything for a building. Eventually it'll come through there, and marble slabs have been known to be there, statuary, furniture, wallboard, building compound, wallboard compound, fuses, electrical conduit, plastic conduit, HVAC, insulation, furniture, windows, doors. Yeah, it's all there at Habitat for Humanity Restore, 4933 West Lane. That's 100 yards south of March Lane. Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily. Chandrath San and Sivsan at 1304 East Hammer Lane. Open 7 days a week here in Stockton, and opens at 4:30 and 5:30 on Sundays. Leaders T-shirt printing up in Lodi, 500 East Lodi Avenue at Garfield. T-shirts and business cards. All right, all right. We're going to just get going here on the show for this evening, and that is the Sunday Night Islam show, and we're going to get right on into last week. Read Surah 8 from the NJ Dawood. We're up in our timeline to early years in the Medinan era, but things are moving right along, and that means we're in Surah 8, which is years 624, 625. And let me get the audition going. We have 709, 2018-08-05, and Sunday Islam show. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, we're going to get started. Good evening, listeners. It's Richard Slezak. It's the Sunday Night Islam show coming to you over KXVS.org and the voiceofstockton.org, as well as Facebook and YouTube. Going to head on over here to the big table. As you can see, we got kind of an open door philosophy here at the studio, and got cameras kind of going everywhere. and they can be moved. They're not set in stone. Ah, what's this thing? That's strange. I'm going to do a little bit of changing over here on the Facebook, YouTube. Okay. Oh my. Better make sure about the sequence. And, there's that thing back again. I don't need that. Eddie, I got the little box going, and I don't need the little box going.
Let me fix that for you.
All righty.
Okay. Picture in picture. Okay, I see what the problem is. Stop rotation first. Go to view camera 1 for now.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Start rotation.
Okay. That's what I would have done. Okay.
And then there you go.
All righty. All righty. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. All right. And thank you, Eddie, for that little bit of help there. And so we're going to be going into our Fancy Quran, a 1991 Turkish translation, and this is the 9th edition, 2006. And it's every translation, the hair difference between the translators. What it's reflective of, I've found, is general English in the years that it was translated. The 1932 Pickthall, for instance, reminds me of the 1928 Episcopal Prayer Book, which I grew up with. I went to Episcopal Church, and the idioms are very, very similar, you know. So shock horror, and so it's good to read various translations. Pickthall is a rather popular one, as a matter of fact. Okay. Al-Anfal, the spoils revealed at Medina. This surah takes its name from the first verse by which it was proclaimed that property acquired in war from the enemy belongs to Allah and His Messenger. That is to say, to the Islamic State, where the Sharif as applied to be used for the welfare of the people. Of the 75 verses, most were revealed at Medina during the second year of the Islamic calendar. So, yeah, this is 623, 624 time frame. Some authorities held that verses 30 to 36 were revealed at Mecca just before the Hijrah. In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful, they ask you, O Muhammad, about the spoils of war. Say, the spoils of war belong to Allah and the Messenger, so keep your duty to Allah and adjust the matter of your difference and obey Allah and His Messenger if you are true believers. They only are the true believers whose hearts feel fear when Allah is mentioned and when the revelations of Allah are recited unto them. Their faith increases, and who trust in their Lord. I need to mark the time of our start here, and so I don't go spilling over. 7:09 p.m. Looks like we got 7:15. They fear Allah is mentioned, and when the revelations of Allah are revealed unto them, their faith increases, and who trust in their Lord, who establish the prayer and spend of that we have bestowed on them. These are they who are in truth believers. For them are grades of honor which their Lord and pardon and a generous provision. Footnote here. Before the Battle of Badr, some of the believers were restless and not happy about the war. Some of them were concerned with how the spoils should be divided. Allah responded by revealing the following verse. Even as your Lord caused you, Muhammad, to go forth from your home with the truth, and yet a group of the believers were averse to it, disputing with you of the truth, after it had been made manifest, as if they were being driven to death visible. And when Allah promised you one of the two bands, either the caravan or the army of Quraysh, that it should be yours, and you longed that other than the armed one might be yours, and Allah willed that he should cause the truth to triumph by his words and cut the root of the disbelievers. This seems, and continuing. Okay, this is a footnote. Just before the Battle of Badr, there were two alternatives open to the Muslims in Medina to save themselves from being overwhelmed by the Quraysh of Makkah with all their resources from the rich Syrian route. One, which was for the moment less dangerous and promised much booty, was to attack the rich Quraysh caravan returning from Syria to Mecca. Accompanied by only 4 men, the other alternative, which the Blessed Prophet, following the divine command, adopted, was to march out boldly against the well-armed Quraysh army of 1,000 men. The Muslims had no more than 300 men, who were, moreover, poorly equipped. Yet by choosing the latter course, the Muslims triumphed over the worldly aristocracy of Mecca, whose power was shaken never to recover. Verse 8, that he might cause the truth to triumph, and having vanity to taught, however much the guilty might have it. When you sought help of your Lord, and he answered you, saying, I will help you with 1,000 of the angels, rank upon rank. Footnote. When the Blessed Prophet Muhammad saw the number of the enemy soldiers, which seemed likely to overwhelm the Muslim army, he raised his hands and prayed to Allah, "O Lord God, fulfill your promise that you have given me, for if you destroy this small group of believers, no one will remain to worship you." He repeated the prayer several times, and then the Lord sent an army of angels against the idolaters, and a mighty victory for truth and goodness was secured. Verse 11, Allah appointed it only as glad tidings, and that your hearts thereby might be at rest. Victory comes only by the help of Allah. Assuredly, Allah is mighty, wise. When He made the slumber fall upon you as reassurance from Him, and sent down water from the sky upon you, and thereby He might purify you and remove from you the fear of Satan, and make strong your hearts and firm your feet thereby. A footnote: the army of the Quraysh had arrived first and secured the use of the Badr well, but God favored the Muslims firstly by sending them a drowsiness which calmed their nerves, and secondly by sending rain, which not only relieved them of the want of water, but made the ground firm and more suitable for close combat. Verse 12, when your Lord inspired the angels, saying, "I am with you, so make those who believe stand firm. I will throw fear into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Then smite the necks and smite them each finger. That is because they opposed Allah, His messenger. Whoso opposes Allah and His messenger, for him assuredly Allah is severe in punishment. That is the award, so taste it, and know that for disbelievers in the torment of the fire. O you who believe, when you meet those who disbelieve in battle, turn not your backs to them. Whoso on that day turns his back to them, unless maneuvering for battle or intending to join a company, he truly has incurred wrath from Allah, and his habitation will be hell, a hapless journey's end. And let me take a moment here to check our computers and make sure everything is well. And it looks to be well. 7:24 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. It's the Sunday Evening Islam show, and we're reading Surah 8 of came forth in 624 or so. References to the Battle of Badr. So continuing. You believers slew them not, but Allah slew them, and you, Muhammad, did not throw when you threw, but Allah threw, that He might test the believers by a fair test for Him. Truly, Allah is hearer, knower. Footnote: when the army of the Quraysh came to fight the Muslims, the Prophet raised his hands again and prayed to Allah. Those disbelievers who reject you, your messenger, are come to fight me with their leaders. in whose hearts is nothing but conceit. I implore you to fulfill the promise that you have given me. And when the two armies met together, he picked up a handful of dirt from the ground and threw it at the enemy, mentioning the name of Allah. The enemy's eyes were blinded, and they could see nothing. Verse 18. That is the case, and know that Allah it is who makes weak the plan of disbelievers. O disbelievers, if you sought a judgment, now has the judgment come to you, and if you cease from persecuting the believers, it will be better for you. But if you return to the attack, we also shall return, and your host will avail you not, however numerous it be, and know that Allah is with the believers in his guidance. O you who believe, obey Allah and his messenger. Turn not away from him when you hear him speak. Be not as those who say, we hear, and they hear not. Assuredly, the worst of beasts in Allah's sight are the deaf, the dumb, who have no sense. A footnote from the implication is clear. Ignorance of man's true nature, his origin, and his place of return reduces him to an infrahuman level. In fact, he is worse than the animals, for they at least are fulfilling their part of the created order. Man can be God's viceroy on earth, crowned with glory and honor, or can be a creature lower than the animals. Had Allah known of any good in them, he would have made them hear, but he made them hear, they would have turned away averse. O you who believe, obey Allah and his messenger when he calls you to that which gives you life, and know that Allah comes in between man and his own heart, and that he it is to whom you will be gathered. The names of man, it is his soul. The essence of a man is his soul, which is, by a common metaphor, located in his heart. The spirit, oh heck, excuse me folks, the spirit faculty by which he may know God. Following on from the previous verse, we are told that acceptance and recognition of the divine principle behind all life gives life to the soul, which otherwise would be called cold and dead. In another verse, the Lord tells us that he is closer to a man than his jugular vein. Here he states that it is he who intervenes between us and our hearts. In every case, it is he who guides the heart when it is illuminated with the love and knowledge of him. granting it life in this world and eternal life in the next, when all are gathered once more unto him. And guard, verse 25, and guard yourself against the chastisement which cannot fall exclusively on those of you who are wrongdoers, and know that Allah is severe in punishment. And remember, when you were few and reckoned feeble in the land, and were in fear lest men should extirpate you, know he gave you refuge, and strengthened you with his help, and made provision of good things for you, but that perhaps you might be thankful. O you who believe, betray not Allah and his messenger, nor knowingly betray your trusts. A footnote. Trust may be various kinds: property, goods, credit, and so forth. Second, plans, confidence, secrets. Third, knowledge, talents, opportunities, etc., which we are expected to use fruitfully in the service of our fellow men. Men may betray the trust of Allah and his prophet by misusing property or abusing the trust reposed in them, or the knowledge or talent given them. On that special occasion, when the plans for a protection of Allah's worshippers against annihilation were of special importance, the Prophet's trust and confidence had to be guarded with special care. Occasions for scrupulously respecting the trust and confidence of other human beings occur every day in our lives, and few of us can claim anything like the perfection in this respect. Hence the special distinction of the blessed Prophet of God, who earned the title of Al-Amin, the one who was true to every trust reposed in him. Verse 28, and know that your possessions and your children are a test, and that Allah is the immense reward. O you who believe, if you keep your day to Allah, he will give you discrimination between right and wrong, and will rid you of your evil thoughts and deeds, and will forgive you. Allah is of infinite beauty. And when those who believe plot against you, O Muhammad, to wound you fatally, or to kill you, or to drive you out, they plot, but Allah also plots, and Allah is the best of plotters. And when our revelations are recited to them, they say, we have heard, if we wish, we can speak the like of this. Assuredly, this is nothing but fables of the men of old. And when they said, O Allah, if this be indeed the truth from you, then rain down stones on us, or bring on us some painful doom. But Allah would not punish them while you were with them, nor will he punish them while they seek forgiveness. 7:35 here at the Voice of Stockton. Verse 34 coming up. Let me take a moment for computer checks here at the Voice of Stockton. Yeah, things are working fine here. How many minutes we got on that? 25. Very good, very good. And check the radio DJ. Yep, 7:35 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. And things look to be moving right along on the YouTube and Facebook. So let me get a little swig of water here. And we're up to verse 34 coming. Been a lot of footnotes. Try this middle mic here. How's the middle mic doing? It's picking things up. And so's this white mic. Continuing. What plan have they that Allah should not punish them when they debar his servants from the inviolable mosque, though they are not in fitting guardians? Its fitting guardian are those only who keep their duty to Allah, but most of them know not. And their worship at the holy house is nothing but whistling and hand clapping. Therefore it is said to them, taste of the doom because you disbelieve. Footnote, the pagan Arabs used to circumambulate the holy Kaaba naked, both men and women together. At the same time, they used to whistle through their fingers and clap their hands, believing this was a form of prayer. Those who disbelieve spend their wealth in order that they may debar men from the way of Allah. They will spend it, then it will become an anguish for them. Then they will be conquered, and those who disbelieve will be gathered to hell. Footnote, the pagan Arabs expended vast sums in their attempts to suppress monotheism in the peninsula, both at the Battle of Badr and thereafter, yet it made no difference. Islam won out. Verse 37, that Allah may separate the wicked from the good. The wicked will be placed piece upon piece, and heap them all together, and consign them to hell. Such are the losers. Tell them who disbelieve that if they come from their persecution of the believers, that which is past will be forgiven them, but if they return thereto, then the example of the men of old has already gone before them for a warning, and fight them until persecution is no more, and religion is all for Allah. But if they cease, then assuredly Allah is seer of what they do. And if they turn away, they know that Allah is your befriender, the best to befriend and the best to help. And know that whatever you take as spoils of war, a fifth thereof is for Allah and for the messenger and for the kinsman who has need, and orphans and the needy, and the wayfarer. If you believe in Allah and that which we revealed in our slave of the day of discrimination, the day when the two armies met, and Allah is able to do all things. A footnote. The scholars have debated the identity of the house of the Prophet. The Adl al-Bayt, who have a special position in Muslim affection. According to Imam Shafi, they are the descendants of Hashim or al-Muttalib, while others define them as all those who, because of their blood relationship with the Holy Prophet, are not entitled to receive zakat. A third group identifies them with the entire tribe of Quraysh. Spoils which may result from military action will be divided fairly, or as even in order to avert chaos, 1/5 going to those who are mentioned in the above verse, and the rest belonging to the veterans of the campaign. When you were on the near bank of the valley in Medina, on the Medina side, and they were on the farther side, and the caravan was below you in the coastal plain. Some of this is in parentheses, not Quranic verse. And had you set a time to meet one another, you surely would have failed to keep it. But it happened as it did, without the forethought of either of you, that Allah might conclude a thing that must be done, that he who persisted on that day might perish by a clear proof of his sovereignty, and he who survived might survive by a clear proof of his sovereignty. Assuredly, Allah in truth is hearer, knower. When Allah showed them to you, O Muhammad, in your dream, a few in number, and if he had shown them to you as many, you Muslims would have faltered and would have quarreled over the affair, but Allah saved you. Assuredly, Allah knows what is in the hearts of men. And when he made you Muslims, when you met them, see them with your eyes as few, and lessened you in their eyes. It was that Allah might conclude a thing that must be done. Unto Allah all things are brought back. O you who believe, when you met an army, hold firm and think of Allah, much that you may be successful. We got 7:44 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. It's the Sunday Night Islam Show. I am Richard Slezak. We're in Surah 8, time around 6:25 of the Common Era. And obey Allah and His Messenger, and dispute not with one another, lest you falter and your strength depart from you. But be steadfast. Assuredly, Allah is with those who are steadfast. Be not as those who came forth from their dwelling boastfully, and to be seen of men, and debar men from the way of Allah, while Allah is surrounding all they do. And when Satan made their deeds seem fair to them, and said, "No one of mankind can conquer you this day, for I am your protector." But when the armies came in sight of one another, they took flight, saying, "Assuredly, I am guiltless of you. Assuredly, I see that which you see not. Surely, I fear Allah, and Allah is severe in punishment." When the hypocrites and those in whose hearts is a disease said their religion had debased them, deluded them, "Whoso puts his trust in Allah will find that assuredly Allah is mighty and wise." If you could see how the angels receive those who disbelieve, smiting their faces and seeing their backs and crying, "Taste the punishment of burning. This is for which your own hands have set before to the judgment, and know that Allah is not a tyrant to his slaves. The way is as the way of Pharaoh's people and those before him. They disbelieve the revelations of Allah, and Allah took them in their sins. Assuredly, Allah is strong, severe in punishment. If you'll excuse me for a moment. Oh, good. Oh, my. Maybe I should just get the camera off me. Some spores came through. Excuse me. Oh my. Better. All right, yes. Get to where I can speak clearly and okay. This is for that which your own hands are sent before you to the judge. Okay. Verse 53, this is because Allah never changes the grace He has bestowed on any people until they first change that which is in their hearts, and that is because Allah is hearer, knower. Their way is as the way of Pharaoh's people, and those before them. They denied the revelation of their Lord, so we destroyed them in their sins, and we drowned the people of Pharaoh. All were evil doers. Assuredly, the worst of beasts in Allah's sight are the ungrateful who will not believe. Those of them with whom you made a treaty, and then at every opportunity they break their treaty, and they do not fear Allah. Footnote, the people mentioned in the above verse are the Banu Qurayza, the Jewish tribe of Medina that had entered into a treaty agreement with the Muslims yet believing that the Muslims were lost. They betrayed them and joined the idolaters. Later, the Jews claimed that they had simply forgotten about the treaty, and a new treaty was signed between the prophet and the Jews. They again broke the treaty during the Battle of the Trench with help of the idolaters and joined them. Finally, Ka'ab ibn al-Asraf, their chief, went to Makkah and signed a formal treaty with the idolaters against the Muslims. Verse 57, if you came on them in the war, deal with them as so as to strike fear in those who are behind them, that perhaps they may remember. And if you fear treachery from any people, then drive them back to them their treaty fairly, assuredly. Allah loves not the treacherous, and let not those who disbelieve oppose that they can outstrip Allah's purpose. Assuredly, they cannot escape. Make ready for them all you can of your armed forces and of horses tethered, that thereby you may dismay the enemies of Allah and your enemy, and others beside them whom you know not. Allah knows them. Whatsoever you spend in the way of Allah, it will be repaid to you in full, and you will not be wronged. And if they incline to peace, incline also to it, and trust in Allah. Assuredly, He is the hearer, the knower. A footnote. While we must always be ready to fight for justice when we need be, even in the midst of the fight, we must always be ready for peace if the other side shows any inclination towards it. Then there is no merit in fighting for its own sake. Rather, it is a sin. It should be a duty contentedly engaged in for the sake of justice, tolerance, and the revealed law. Continuing, we got 754 here at the Voice of Stockton. Coming up on verse 62 of Surah 8. Oh, my. Do a little board check over here. Oh, my. Yeah, things are good. 7:54 p.m. And on the audition, looks like we have 45 minutes so far. Oh boy, oh boy. Whew. The spores come through and it's Sneeze City. Alrighty, verse 62, we'll mark this at 7:55 p.m. verse 62. And if they would deceive you, then surely Allah is sufficient for you. He it is who supports you with his help and with the believers. And as for the believers, he has attuned their hearts. If you had spent all that it is in the earth, you could not have attuned their hearts, but Allah has attuned them. Surely he is mighty wise. Footnote: human souls resemble radio transmitters whose frequency is often not even detectable, let alone heard clearly. The grace of God, however, can attune souls with great precision so that they are united in an astonishing degree of understanding and love. The two Arab tribes of Medina, the Aus and the Khazraj, were constantly fighting with each other before the advent of the Blessed Prophet, and much blood was spilt in endless skirmishing and revenge attacks. But when Allah chose them to bless with Islam, the blood feud between them evaporated and vanished without trace. The two tribes became close friends. The above verse refers to this incident. Verse 64, O Prophet, Allah is sufficient for you and those who follow you of the believers. O Prophet, urge the believers to fight. If there be of you 20 steadfast, they shall overcome 200. And if there be of you 100 steadfast, they shall overcome 1,000 of those who disbelieve, because they, the disbelievers, are a people without intelligence. Now has Allah lightened your burden, for he knows that there is weakness in you. So if there be of you a steadfast 100, they shall overcome 200, and if there be of you 1,000 steadfast, they shall overcome 2,000 by permission of Allah. Allah is with the steadfast. Footnote: in early period of Islam, the Muslims were few and were thus forced to fight at a ratio of 1 to 10. But later on, when the number of Muslims increased, Allah the Exalted lessened the burden of the Muslims, commanding them to fight if the odds were 1 to 2 or better. They were also told if they were steadfast, the victory would be theirs. During the Battle of Badr, the Muslims took 70 prisoners from the idolaters. The Prophet consulted with his companions as to what to do with those prisoners of war. At the end, they decided to ransom them and to relieve them. Upon this incident, the following verse was revealed. It is not for any prophet to have captives until he has made slaughter in the land. You desire the lore of this world, and Allah desires you the hereafter, and Allah is mighty wise. There's a reference over the Bible. Think not that I am come in to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. While a prisoner of war are to be treated humanely, in battle one should not be afraid to make slaughter among the enemy. That was in reference to Matthew 10:34. Now verses 67, 68 were revealed when the blessed prophet had decided to spare the lives of the prisoners taken at Badr and hold them in ransom against the wishes of Umar, who wished them to be executed for their past crimes. The blessed prophet took the verse as a proof, and they are genuinely understood to mean that no quarter ought to have been given in that first battle. Okay, we have 8 p.m. This is the Voice of Stockton.org and KXVS.org. This is the Sunday Evening Islam Show. I am Richard Slezak, your host. And we're reading Surah 8. We're at verse 68. Had it not been for the ordinance of Allah, which had gone before, an awful doom would have come upon you on account of what you took. Now enjoy what you have won as lawful and good, and keep your duty to Allah. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. O Prophet, say to those captive who are in your hands, if Allah knows any good in your hearts, He will give you better than that which has been taken from you, which will be given you. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. This is a footnote. This is a compilation to the prisoner of war. In spite of their previous hostility, Allah will forgive them in His mercy if there was any good in their hearts, and confer upon them a far higher gift than anything they have ever lost. In its highest sense, this would be the blessing of Islam, but even in a material sense, there was great good fortune awaiting them. For instance, in the case of Al-Abbas, the uncle of the blessed prophet, who was amongst them. And verse 71, and if they would betray you, they betrayed Allah before, and He gave you power over them. Allah is knower, wise. Those who believed and left their homes and strove with their wealth and their lives for the cause of Allah, and those who took them in and helped them, those are protecting friends of one another. And those who believe but did not leave their homes, you have no duty to protect them till they leave their homes. But if they seek help from you in the matter of religion, then it is your duty to help them, except against a people between whom and you there is a treaty. Allah is seer of what you do. The reference is to the Mujahideen and the Ansar, the immigrants from Makkah, and the new Muslims, helpers of Medina, the people who forsook their homes and adopted voluntary exile with their blessed leader and their brethren in the illuminated city, who gave them refuge and every kind of assistance, moral and material. Under the magnetic personality of the blessed prophet, these two groups became like blood brothers, and they were treated in matters of inheritance during the period when they were cut off from their families. Verse 73, and those who disbelieve are protectors of one another. If you do not so desire, will be confusion in the land and great corruption. Those who believed and left their homes and strove for the cause of Allah, and those who took them in and helped them, these are the believers in truth. For them is forgiveness and a generous provision. And those who afterwards believed and left their homes and strove along with you, they are of you, and those who are akin are nearer one to another in the ordinance of Allah. Surely Allah is knower of all things. A footnote. Temporary rights of mutual inheritance established between the early immigrants and helpers would not only apply to later recruits who would come under entirely different circumstances. Okay, it looks like we have about 8:07 here at the Voice of Stockton. Oh boy. Okay, that's 185, 187. Okay, that was it. Finished. And not a lot of time left in the show. And that was theology and duties. Pulling it together under adverse circumstances. And that was the Surah 8, Turkish translation. All right. And that's pretty much this evening's show. Oh, my. What Muhammad had to decide on in the years 624 and 625, major things going on in Mecca, and he addressed them right there in Surah 8. And let me do a check of the machines we have up here. Our computers, yeah, there's 8:08 and 8:08 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton, and there's we like to share parallel history of what went on to put some flesh on things. This humble building in Medina expressed the ideal of Tawheed. Muhammad wanted to show the sexual, the sacred, the domestic could and indeed must be integrated. And in housing his wives within a stone's throw of the mosque, Muhammad was tacitly proclaiming that there must be no distinction between public and private life, and no discrimination between the sexes. Holiness in Islam was inclusive rather than exclusive. They wished Jews and Christians could worship in the mosque because they too were part of God's family. The building was completed in April 623, about 7 months after the Hijrah. On the north wall, a stone marked the Qibla, the direction of prayer, for it was towards Jerusalem. But things were going to be a change. All righty, we got 8:10. And that is our show for this evening. Thanks for listening in. Those who will be listening to the replay, hey, hope you're having a good evening. And we'll be with you next Sunday night for the Sunday Night Islam show. This is Richard Slezak. Take care. And we're continuing with live radio and live YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to be taking those down since the show is over.